Check.
Got it.
Got it. All right.
All right. I'm gonna send this live. We are going. So here we go.
I'm in my car so I can get peace and quiet.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. I'm Tony Rathman.
And this is Cherie. How are you?
We have two special co-hosts tonight. I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm, I was supposed to be Tony Rathman tonight, but I'm too short and not prepared. So I'm Ron Yacovetti, and this is my lovely sidekick, and I'm her sidekick.
And Lourdes Gonzalez. Hi, everybody.
Partner in crime.
And tonight we have an amazing guest. Tonight, Dave Spinks is joining us. And Dave has, I don't even know how many years, 25, 30 years, Dave, of paranormal investigation?
Well, investigation probably right around 30, maybe a little over. Enthusiast since I was 16, after I had some stuff going on as a kid. And actually, it started for me at 13. If you ever listen to my stories, I had a Bigfoot sighting with my grandfather, when I was 13, and really changed my life. And then when I was 16, my other grandfather, the night he died, I had a crazy experience. Didn't even know he was dead till the next day. So, I've often talked about those stories on other shows and whatnot. And I wrote about it in some of my books. That's really what really set me hook, line, and sinker,
Sure.
I wanted answers as to what it was. And ever since then, when I was a young man, back in those days, we didn't have the luxury of the internet and had to go to the local libraries and all that stuff to try to find out as much information as you could. And little by little, you start coming across magazine articles, newspaper articles, of other people having seen something similar or experienced something similar to what you had. And then it kind of lets you know, hey, there's something more to this. I'm not nuts, or I just didn't have a weird dream, And then I saw the show In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy when I was a young man. And
great show. Yeah, that was a great show.
Figured out, there's a lot more to this than you even realize. So, it just kind of snowballed over the years. And then when I was in the military and law enforcement, people knew that I was, actively investigating. And then they'd have a friend that was having something weird going on in their houses or whatever. And they'd say, hey, I know a guy that does that. And that, that's just kind of how it started for me during my working life. And I started investigating people's homes. And over those many years, I've literally done hundreds and hundreds of residential investigations. And I don't just do hauntings, I do it all. I investigate UFOs and cryptids and everything else. So when I retired from law enforcement in 2011, I just decided to go public, with what I do. And I've worked with some of the biggest names out there many, many times, and they said, dude, you gotta start sharing some of that stuff in books, some of your cases and whatnot. So that's what I, started doing. And then I started doing some YouTube stuff, and that's really what kind of put me on the map as far as the public, in the public eye. And it's flattering to me that people like my stuff and enjoy watching it and how I do it. And but that's not the reason I do it. I just want to share my experiences with folks, and I want to hear other people's experience, because I think that's very important in these fields, because knowledge is power. And the more knowledge we have and the more experiences we share with each other, then the better it is for the, for the field to try to advance a little bit. We're not advancing in great leaps and bounds, but we are advancing slowly but surely with technology and other things like that. And it still blows me away today when I'm in a location and I get a Class A EVP responding to my question. How do you explain that? You can't. And that just blows me. That's what keeps me going. Little things like that. And just like, wow, I just communicated with something that's not even here. I can't see it with my visible eye. It answered my question intelligently. How do you explain that? You can't. I mean, it's fascinating stuff,
Completely agree. And I love your perspective of, one of the important things to do is to share with the community. I mean, today there's so much of people wanting to keep places hidden and secret and not say where they got stuff. That completely defeats the purpose of trying to answer the questions. I think we're we're all out there to answer. So I love that perspective, Dave, that, you know, it's important to share. It's important to work with. One of the reasons we started the show was because we wanted to be able to share what others had collected and captured. And just a little side note to our audience, Dave sent over some amazing captures. So anyone who's watching tonight, you are in for a real treat. But before we get into that, I just want to read Dave's background. Dave is the co-founder and owner of Society of the Supernatural. He's the founder and owner of Real Supernatural. He is a former law enforcement at the United States Department of Justice, and he's a former senior airman for the U.S. Air Force. So unbelievable background, Dave, and to have you in the paranormal field, and for us to be able to follow and see the things that you do, that's just fantastic.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. I mean, I'm no better than anyone else. I just maybe have a little more background in certain investigation things, but you know, it's the unknown. You know, I'm always learning myself, even to this day. I mean, there's always room to keep learning, especially when it comes to the unknown and the supernatural and the paranormal fields, because we just really don't know. You know, we really don't know. We know certain things, but and a lot of it is off of your religious background and preferences and whatnot. You know, it's like politics and religion. I often say, you know, I'm not going to change anyone's minds. I'm just here to show, hey, I had this experience. Right. You know, make what you want out of it, because literally you're not going to change anyone's mind unless they have their own profound experience. I mean, those are core
beliefs. That's why those are core beliefs people hold, and they really don't let go of those unless, like you said, something touches them. They have to have had the experience or been party to it. I could not agree more. It is, you learn that early on, I think, in the field, is that you stop trying to go to the people who think it's all bull and go, now do you believe? No, I don't.
No. But at the same time, what I love is those skeptics, man. You'll be at a conference or something, I'll be speaking, and, you know, I don't believe in that, you know, because I'd never had an experience. I said, okay, well, how many of you have seen something you can't explain? And 9 times out of 10, the same people will raise their hands. You know, when it comes to spirit activity, a lot of times, how many times have all of us seen a shadow out of the corner of our eyes, or something we can't explain, noises in our house, or voices in your house, or someone else's house? You know, people are scared to death of the unknown, and they just refuse to even acknowledge it because it scares the bejesus out of them, literally. And most of us have been brought up in a hardcore Christian of some sort, Christian background, and you're told, hey, you don't mess with that stuff because you're messing with demons. And to me, that, you know, my grandfather was a Baptist minister for 40 plus years after World War II, and every time I tried to talk to him about what happened to us or other things I experienced, he's like, nope, don't even talk about it. You're you know, it was just total taboo, especially if you're in the Bible Belt. You know, it's even worse, you know. And so luckily, TV is like a double-edged sword when it comes to the paranormal. It hurts the field in a lot of ways, but it also helps the field because it brought it into the mainstream, and it's more widely accepted to talk about now. It's really pop culture now. So
yeah, you're sorry. Go ahead, Lourdes.
It's made it that it doesn't have to be a secret anymore, because that was the whole, when I was growing up, it was like, you don't talk about that. You can't discuss it, you know? So it made it that it's okay to discuss it, and that it does happen.
And technology has done the same thing. Technology has made it so you can substantiate and corroborate evidence more easily, but at the same time, it's also been fodder for people who think people fudge evidence, because now computer-generated stuff that used to be at the hands of someone in the studio is now in everybody's laptop.
It's CG'd. No, it ain't, man. You know, I mean, that's where your reputation comes in. You know, you have to be considered that you have integrity and stuff like that, and people can trust your word. But unfortunately, we have the people out there that want to fake stuff to try to get famous. For what reason? To get on TV. And that's a shame. It really hurts us all, you know, in this field. So,
hey, Tony, if I can real quick, we had the pleasure of meeting Dave at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash a year ago.
I recognized you all.
He had a table. So let me say first and foremost, if anybody wants to understand how to interact with the public the way you should, to interact with fans, people in the field that are curious, watch Dave Spinks at an expo, because the way he was with everybody there was fantastic. And that's you're being the public face of us, just like TV is when you do stuff like that. So we all appreciate that. That was really cool. The other thing I want to say is Dave's a very big guy, and he's a very, very nice, very friendly person. So I was talking to him at the expo, and I turned back away for a second. And when I turned around to where he was, he had moved over. But next to me was a life-size cardboard cutout of Dave Spinks with a very serious face on it. And for a minute, I was coming up with lunch money retroactively from like 4th grade, going, "Holy shit!"
That was a good time.
It was a phenomenal table, but yeah, it was a life-size thing, right? It was like a real size.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those pull-up banner things, you know.
Well, Dennis was the
Yes, Dennis Stone from New York City introduced us. He brought us over to meet you.
Dennis is a good guy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But to Dave's original point about television, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it was a double-edged sword, but it did bring it into the mainstream, and it did allow people to do a variety of things. It allowed them to acknowledge the concept. It allowed them to talk about it because it opened up in the mainstream. People felt more comfortable sharing what they had captured or the stories. So those were all the positive from it. I'm not going to go into the negatives, but it's funny to bring that up because I was just listening to a video podcast that Jay Bloomkey did last night, and he was talking about when they first shot Ghost Hunters, how they were so hesitant to bring the show to light because he was saying that their responses were, "I don't want people to think I'm nuts or crazy," and we don't have that problem today because of those original shows that kind of broke that ice, broke that platform. A lot of good has come from it. There are some bad things. We won't talk about those, but yeah, it definitely helped the entire community, the whole paranormal community, get on track. And at least when you say it to people, they ask, what do you do for fun, or what do you do as a hobby, or what's your biggest passion? If you say paranormal investigation, you still may get a few weird looks here and there, but it's not as common as it probably.
Eyebrows.
Right.
Nowhere near.
Yeah. Now we're crazy for other reasons.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll fit that bill for the next 20, 30 years, but they can call us crazy all they want because, after you've done this for, a decade or longer,
right,
there's just too much evidence to deny what happened out there. And that's really what it takes to prove to anybody. And we agree with you. We're not out to prove to anybody to make their change their mind, only to show what we've captured and where we captured it, and then they can do whatever they want with it. But someone who does spend the time to do the investigation under the right criteria, and to do it to a point where they've given it enough time to make educated decisions on it, I don't think anybody could do that and not come back and say, okay, I can't explain a bunch of these variables and don't know how this is happening. But yeah.
Yeah, there's more collective evidence for afterlife and continued consciousness than there was ever for the id, ego, and superego. Yet that stuff amongst its community, scientifically or otherwise, is accepted. But Dave alone has probably got more evidence. We're going to see some of it tonight. That is mind blowing, and it's like he said. There's no rational response to say, oh, it's just this.
Right.
It's not dismissive. It's really, really compelling.
Yeah, and we're going to see some great stuff tonight.
I can't wait.
I know.
I've been waiting for this one.
I know. When I saw them, well, I won't keep preaching about how great they are. The audience will get to see. But you know what? On that note, I am going to play the first one. And Dave, unfortunately, with the way that our system's set up, our entire audience will be able to see it. You won't, as we play it live. But
it's okay. I lived it.
Exactly. Great answer. But this one is called, it's a haunted plantation in South Carolina. Do you want to give just a little intro as to where this was, what you were doing?
Yeah.
And what you were... Okay, great.
Yeah, well, this is a fairly new case. And if you guys watch Ghost Nation, that house was just featured. That was my case that I gave to them on Ghost Nation this season 2. It's a little town in South Carolina. Of course, it's not open to the public. This guy called me and reached out and wanted help because he felt there was demons in his house. You know, I mean, this thing had this place is super active. I heard numerous eyewitness testimony from his family and friends of what they experienced in this house. And this house, guys, is original to the same family since the 1700s.
Wow.
It has a lot of the original furniture still in it. It's crazy. So you had all these generations of people of this same family live and die in this house, to include, women having stillborn babies and the whole nine. Because, medicine is not what it is today. And a lot of babies died, of various things. Even young kids, 5, 6 years old, died of cholera and other things. Right. And they even have a little graveyard out in front of the house where they would bury the little babies and the kids that died of sicknesses and whatnot. And then right up the road, the family's buried. So they wanted to keep the kids close for some reason. I don't know. But and numerous people died in the house, over the many generations. Actually, the man that owns it now, his great-great-grandfather was actually drug out of the house by General Sherman's troops during Civil War on horseback. Wow. And they actually tied him backwards on the back of the horse. So when the horse would trot, it would kick him in the head. He was hanging off the back of the horse, and they drug him out of the house like that. Then they set the house on fire, and the servants, the slaves, saved the house from burning. That's how good they treated their slaves back there at this place and this family. And he's, with what's going on in today's world, he's super nervous about that and everything, and, it is what it is, but super active place. That's just one tiny response I got in that place, and I got a ton. And what was really cool on the show is that on other instances from that video you're going to show, I actually got some names. I said who died in here, who was murdered in here, blah, blah, blah. And I got the name John. Well, Ghost Nation guys came because they, I'm kind of a location scout too for a lot of these shows as well. And they actually verified that there was a man murdered on the property whose name was John. And it was over some kind of argument and stuff, and he was stabbed to death. And when I asked, how did you die, on some of my responses, it's not on the video you have. I have it on my YouTube channel, but it said stabbed. So wow. they verified it on the show, which was really cool. So what you're gonna see is I was asking questions about the Civil War and seeing if there was any Civil War troops that I could communicate with, and I asked a question, and you can play it and see the response.
All right. Let's play this, and I may play this one twice because it is relatively quick, but here it comes now.
What unit were you in? What unit were you in?
Wow. I mean, that's clear as a bell, that response. Direct to your question and response immediately after. And Calvary is very easily heard. That's incredible.
Yeah. And Tony, remember too,
what's cool, guys, about that one is it was on a ghost box. And a lot of people don't, really like the ghost boxes and spirit boxes, but I'm telling you, I was very skeptical of them in the beginning, but after using them for so many years, I'm telling you, they're the real thing. I believe spirits can communicate with us via many different means. So, that's just one example. That's a direct, relevant response to my question. You can't deny it. Why would they be talking about cavalry randomly on the radio? Come on.
Right.
I mean, so
they wouldn't. The timing and relevance of that was phenomenal. Those are two high criteria for any ghost box or any direct response on anything for that matter. And Tony, I was going to say too is that early EVP and ITC pioneer Konstantin Radovay would say that a lot of times vocals will come in at an off cadence or an accelerated cadence, and that came in faster than normal speech a little bit. So you really have to have, kudos to your ear, a tuned ear to hear that kind of evidence.
You can miss that like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it comes so fast. But you're absolutely right about the spirit box. I mean, we were we were very skeptic 10 years ago, and now I think we've built 12.
Me or you?
Okay, well, me. But I've built 12 or 15 different spirit boxes, and the one I have now just works phenomenal. And I will trust that thing anywhere we take it. And, you know, are there some things that come through that aren't spiritual? Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the majority of it can easily be looked at and said, okay, that's not random, that's not chance. This is answer to question after question after question, and there's something far beyond going on there that has nothing to do with probability, chance, or anything in between.
Right, and then when you throw in other factors too, like when we do direct radio voice, when you're on an intermittent frequency or a frequency with no radio emissions, you don't even have phonetics or sweeping at that point as well. And again, to go to that specific piece of evidence, which was phenomenal, it was a direct response.
Right.
Like the spirit box, we had a spirit box session. The girl brought a trophy, and it was a spirit box, a trophy.
As a trigger.
And I said, what is she holding? It clearly says trophy.
Right.
Yeah.
How? Like, out of all the words, they would say that. You know?
That's what you do when you're using a spirit box. I mean, you can't deny that. And another thing, another example I like to use when you're using spirit boxes, how many times have you guys experienced this yourself when it outright cusses you, F you, mother effer, whatever, and uses your full name? Uses your full name.
Yeah.
Now, prime example is the FCC regulations does not allow that type of talk, and a radio station would be fined huge amounts of money, and they would get shut down.
Right.
So that's that's the things you got to know about when you're a skeptic. You say, well, I don't believe in that. Well, how do you explain this, this, and this? It just doesn't happen, folks.
No.
It just doesn't happen.
It doesn't. How do you explain a direct, relevant response? How?
Exactly.
How do you do that?
And you don't have it. Remember, most radio comprised of music, even through the AM bands, most of it is music. It's never music that comes through, for one. And there's been documented. Right? There's been documented cases over and over and over again when someone will do a session with a direct radio or a sweeping radio in another country, and you guys had this happen to you, Tony and Shuri, that it'll come through in the language that you know.
Right.
It's not even broadcast in that country. So the problem with people who are skeptical of this stuff is that skeptical people find one hook to hang their hat on, and then they kick back with a brew and go, well, I've disproven it.
Right.
You're not even started.
No.
No.
We're in Phoenix. And there are no Tagalog radio stations anywhere in Phoenix, but yet Cherie's native language, they were answering in Tagalog, which was
awesome.
Blown away.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
All right.
Love it.
So I just love these clips, and each one I'm going to play gets better and better and better. So audience, stick around. This is going to be just an amazing show. But this next clip, Dave, I'm not going to say what the title is because I don't want to give it away, but something bursts when you were asking a chandelier to move. You want to give a little background on that?
Okay, let me tell you something, guys. This house was crazy. It's too bad it's shut down now, and it's actually a
industrial location. It's a business. Okay, this was called the Hamilton House in Indiana. And I heard all these things about how haunted this place was. So I went there with a friend of mine, Nikki, Para-Unnormal. And we took Cassidy Ray, the teen psychic, with us at the time. And this is just a small example of what happened to us tonight. It was off the chain. But that was so significant because I'd never experienced anything like that before. Asking a question for something, show me something, do something. Because we had heard this chandelier would often be seen by numerous people moving on its own. So I'm sitting directly under the chandelier. I got the camera filming it, a couple of different cameras, and I'm live, mind you. This was live on my YouTube channel at the time. So you got all these people watching, and we're just sitting there, and you can see a camera rig behind me sitting on a table. Well, this camera rig was not even on, okay? It was shut off. There was nothing on inside of it, and you'll hear me ask a question. Show me something, do something, move the chandelier. Go ahead and play it.
All right.
It's crazy, man.
Yes, it is. Here comes that clip.
All right, show me something. Move the chandelier.
Please. Thank you. I'm done.
That battery, look at this, guys. The battery blew up. Okay, check this out, guys. We were sitting there. I said, show us something, move the chandelier, and a freaking battery blew up in my monitor. I've never had a battery blow up. A double A, please. Are you kidding me? Just goes to show you guys, be careful what you ask for because you might just get it. If you look closely, you'll see the acid spewing out of the top of the battery.
Okay, that was incredible. The thing I can't tell, though, is did you take the battery from where it exploded, or did it fly across the room?
No, I had to cut it down, because it was
Sure.
TikTok, but I have that whole video on my YouTube channel if you guys want to check it out. But what happened was, and the audio didn't do it justice because I had a crappy feed. It sounded like a 22 going off in that room with us. That's why we jumped. All of us, the girls screamed. And you heard Cassie Ray say, "That's it, I'm done."
Yeah.
Because it was on command, guys. I said, "Show me something, do something," and then pow. And we couldn't figure out where it came from. We thought it was just out of thin air, this loud bang, right? So we started looking around, and then you start smelling it. You could smell it burning. And we're like, and then we tracked it back to my camera rig back there, popped the thing off, and I was like, holy crap, this battery just exploded in here.
Wow.
And all the other batteries were fine. And that one battery, a double A battery, you could see I showed the acid coming out of it. It exploded. I've never had a double A or even a triple A or a 9-volt explode on me in my entire life. And I've used tens of thousands of freaking batteries. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sure, okay, it could happen. A battery could literally blow up. However, the device it was in, it was the monitor on the camera's batteries was not turned on, and nothing on the camera rig was turned on. And it happened when I said, "Show me something, do something, move the chandelier." Pow! And if you knew what happened during the rest of this investigation, it was just off the chain with events that occurred. Toward the end of the night, Cassidy had left with her stepdad. I had some weird, bizarre stuff happen to me. I guess they said something was like I wasn't my normal self earlier on in the investigation. They said my face looked different and I was acting weird. I don't remember any of it, but they did some cleansing on me, and I went back to normal. Not even realizing, they didn't tell me till afterwards.
Wow.
And but at the very end of the night, another profound thing happened. If you watch the video, it'll blow you away. And it sucks that it didn't happen during the investigation. I was talking to the people in the chat room that watched it live, and I was telling them thanks for watching, everything like that. All the cameras were shut off, and Nikki had brought a Scooby-Doo suitcase with her. That was her kids. And we had all of our gear in the room that I was on the computer chatting with everybody. And she was carrying gear out to the car, right? And she walked back in the room and stopped dead in her tracks and said, "Oh my freaking God." And there was a padlock, a big padlock on that luggage just swinging back and forth in a pendulum motion. And I was like, okay, she hit it, but it didn't make sense because there's no way it would have swung that long, right? So I grabbed my cell phone, I start filming it, and it swung for like 6 minutes.
Wow.
Like that.
Somebody's
And at the same time, you're getting all these, I don't use the word ores, but you're getting all this, looks like some dust particles mixed in with some other stuff I couldn't explain. And about that time, she felt like something was crawling up her back like a child or something, and she started freaking out. And we filmed all that, and then I tried to debunk it and recreate it. I jumped up and down on the floor. I mean, this was a heavy padlock. It wasn't some little luggage padlock. This was a big padlock, something you would put on a locker. And you can see it if you watch the whole video on YouTube. Just look up Haunted Hamilton Hell House, or I think that's what I titled it. And so we filmed all that. I tried to debunk it, jumping up, down, shook the table as hard as I could to make it swing, and then it swung for like 10 seconds and stopped.
Wow.
There was no way to recreate it. And then, so we, after all that transpired, we loaded all the gear up. We were like, holy crap, that was crazy. And I had left my overnight bag in the bathroom, and we had loaded up everything. And as we finished loading up, you heard a child's voice tell her, it had to be geared towards her because it said, "Mama." And she's like, oh, hell no, I'm not your mama. And then I had to run back. And she's like, I'm getting in the car. And I said, crap, I got to run back in there and get my freaking, my overnight bag in the bathroom. And so she said, well, I'm not staying out here by myself, because she was freaked out.
Sure.
It was intense, I tell you. So she was right behind me. As soon as I go to put my hand on the doorknob, you hear the deadbolt lock on the door.
Boy.
And there was a window. There was nobody standing there. And I'm like, no freaking way. The thing just locked us out of the house. So I had to call the owner, because we had to run to the house. He was 30 miles away. There was no one in the house but us. And, we were just going to lock the door and leave. And it locked the daggone deadbolt and locked us out.
Oh, wow.
So we had to spend the night in town till he could get down there and let me back in the next morning to get my overnight bag.
That's crazy.
That was just a few of the things that happened. It was insane, man. And that place is off the chain haunted, let me tell you. And whatever.
And as far as those people with the evidence and the battery, and if the battery is old, as a paranormal investigator, you don't have old batteries.
Right.
You're always constantly using your batteries.
That is a
those are brand new.
Great point.
It's not going to be an old battery. We're constantly using batteries. So
that was brand new batteries I had put in that.
That's a great point. And especially for a new investigation, the first thing you do is go through your equipment, and even anything that's at half power, you trade it out because you're going to be using it all night. That's an excellent point. But the really interesting thing about what Dave was saying about the children is that, if you walked out a door closing that deadlock behind him, that's something a child would do. The fact that they went to a lock on what'd you say, a Scooby-Doo?
Yeah, Scooby-Doo's luggage, like a little one of those bags that you pull with the long handle on it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Again,
it was her son. It was her son.
Right.
It was nuts.
A kid would be attracted to that and probably trying to pull the lock off, or whatever they were doing. But that all makes sense from a perspective of what
That's a great
kids
point.
might be doing.
That's a great point. It's an unintentional trigger object too.
I can see a kid doing the deadbolt and be like, ha ha ha, because you can't open the deadbolt.
Well, I mean, I was looking in the windows and trying with my flashlight. There's nobody there. I looked down as far as I could, seeing if somebody was on their knees screwing with us. There wasn't nobody. I could see the floor straight down. It was some crazy stuff, man.
Wow. Wow. All right, Dave, we have a question from our audience. Carrie wants to know if what advice you would give someone just starting to learn how to investigate. What advice you would give them?
Definitely get with a team that's experienced to learn the ropes, the basics. Do not investigate on your own because my personal experiences, and I'm sure many others, this can be dangerous.
Yes.
I have had attachments a couple of times over the years that I had to get cleared, and one of them was really, really negative, and I had like the worst year of my life. Everything was going bad. I was almost financially ruined. I found out I had cancer in my leg. All kind of stuff happened right after this really, really negative location. I actually spent over 30 days. I lived in it, investigated it daily, and then went back 3 more times for 2 weeks at a time, all back to back to back. So, and there's a very big named person in there with me too, and they had some very crazy negative experiences. But this can be dangerous. Get with a team that knows what they're doing, that's been around a while, who has a good rep, and learn the ropes.
Can I follow up a question also? So what do you do before and after the investigation to protect yourself?
I use several different methods. It just depends. Basically, I use blessings, and sometimes I'll use holy oil and holy water.
Yep.
With going in and coming out.
Yep.
But there's other times I don't go to the extremes too before I go in, because I think that it will skew the evidence sometimes. if there's truly something negative in there, and I go in and I'm covered with holy water and everything, it's
right. Yeah, you've just escalated the problem then, yeah.
Either escalate it or it's going to run, and you're not going to get anything to back up to verify your client's stories, especially in a residential, you know. So sometimes you have to be reactive instead of proactive, and it can be dangerous. So do not, you know, if you're a novice, don't go in anyone's home that's having a negative haunting. I mean, just don't do it.
Yeah, no, that was great, Dave, and so true, and we agree also.
Don't worry, Carrie. We're here.
No, but Carrie has investigated. We just did the Globe Jail, but that was an interesting place. But that's great advice, and you know, you can learn a lot from a group. You can learn about equipment that they use and what you like and what you don't like, and get a feel for, you know, what you want to buy and what you want to add to your arsenal. But there's no negativity about getting a good, reliable group and learning from them, because you're going to avoid a ton of mistakes, and we've all made them, but it's much better to have a group behind you to help sort that out.
Yeah, capable group that has.
Yeah, learn the basics, and then you'll develop your own style, you know, as you go and you do it longer.
Yeah, and a diverse group too.
Yeah,
with, you know, a balance of tech, a balance of mediumistic capabilities, perhaps even a locksmith now would be a great thing to have.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so true.
Oh, and always bring a flashlight with extra batteries.
That's nothing worse than being trapped in the dark and the flashlight goes out. Always have either extra flashlights or definitely extra batteries, because that they love to drain anything with battery power and send you.
How about candles? So
well,
they don't
that's
have to drain
that's a fire danger. I wouldn't recommend candles.
That's a fire danger.
No candles, especially in 1700 historic locations.
Yeah, they wouldn't probably wouldn't appreciate that, or wax dripping. So yeah. All right.
Like that one idiot team, was it several years ago? They burnt down that historic plantation down south.
Yep.
They weren't even a team; they were just enthusiasts, and they're messing around, and they burn it down, man.
So sad. Especially, I mean, that's something you can never reclaim. You can never get back. It can never be rebuilt. It's just lost. And to do
and they were trespassing, I believe.
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, we all know the story because we all don't want to see that stuff happen in our field.
Right. Exactly. All right, so I am going to move to the next clip, and this one is titled "Haunting in Pennsylvania." And if I remember correctly, well, Dave, I'll let you give the intro to it. This, I believe, is the one where you guys are.
Oh, that's me and Zappis.
It is.
Yes.
It's you and Johnny Zappis.
That's actually the case I was just talking about, where I had all the bad stuff happen to me after. So yeah, just again, using a spirit box with the Godfather of all people, mind you, and listen to the responses we get. It actually says my name, his name, and it's intelligently communicating back and forth with us. It's insane.
All right, here it is.
Hey, my name's Dave, and this is John. Whoever was just talking with us upstairs, we'd like you to come down the stairs and talk to us. Yeah, talk. Is your name Mark? Yes or no?
That's right. How many of us are here that are living right now? Do you know any of our names? Get out. I don't like your questions.
Wow.
Just amazing. I mean, like you said, again, direct questions, direct answers over and over. Yeah, they said your name. They said John's name. They said he didn't like, or whoever was responding, whatever spirit was responding, didn't like the questions. And plus you were both hearing bits and pieces of what was said, but yet you covered everything that was heard. Just an excellent spirit box session. That was incredible.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
A lot more happened, guys. I mean, it was crazy. That place was nuts. I mean, and that case does have connections to Ed and Lorraine as well. They were there years and years ago in '82.
You know that I just have to say, because when I was listening to it, I heard other stuff in that little section that I don't know if you already know, and people may have pointed it out because it happens to him all the time. Yeah. I point out stuff and then he's like, I'm not doing the video again. But I heard.
Yes, that's true.
I'm done. I'm not done.
Yeah. I say it all the time. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not no more.
Yeah. You'll hear a lot of other stuff in there, right? But what I tried to focus on was the direct, relevant answers to our questions and what we're actually communicating with. But you'll hear a lot of other relevant stuff in there as well, too. And, you know, it could be multiple spirits trying to communicate at the same time. So, you know, sometimes you have those golden moments where you just have a crazy amount of responses that you can't even, there's no way to annotate all that on a video.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That was one of them.
The reason why I'm saying it is because you just said it has a lot of connections to Ed and Lorraine, right? So this is the way I'm saying it, because when it says your guys' names, it sounds like it says Dave, help me, and then it sounds like it says sorry, John. And when I heard it, to me it sounded like they were asking you for help and they were apologizing to John because they weren't asking him for help. So that's the way I took it, because that's how I heard, you know, that's how I took it. And since it's Ed and Lorraine kind of thing,
during that investigation, guys, there was a lot of personal stuff that came through to John there. It was crazy. A lot.
Because I heard sorry, John. I hear Dave help me, and it says sorry, John.
She's a court reporter by trade. Let me put that out there. Her ear is phenomenal with stuff like that. So she pointed it out to me, because we also like Tony and Cherie watched your stuff ad nauseum today because it was really good and pointed that out.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, you'll have sessions like that where there's so much going on and there's multiple spirits sometimes trying to communicate, and you're just like, oh, which ones do I annotate? You know, so I tried to just stick to the ones that I asked the questions and wait for a good response to it. You know, wait for that particular response.
Yeah. And to address those, again, skeptical of this kind of stuff, the two high criteria that we always go by is timing and relevance. Right. It didn't just say a name, even, you know, randomly, or it was your name, it was his name, it was when you asked, it was directly addressing you in the situation. That's the odds of that happening through a sweeping radio or through a static intermittent frequency is astronomically low.
Right. Yeah. The mathematical probability of getting those two names at random. Right. Not
the two guys that are there.
Not possibility. Right?
Yeah. And there was a whole, like I said, there was other parts where they said John Zappis. They were saying his last name. They said my last name. I mean, just crazy stuff. And, you know, the reason I sent you guys the TikTok is because I didn't have time with all the stuff I got going on to cut clips and all that. So I figured, well, there's some really good stuff on the TikTok there, and you guys can check it out. And that was the whole purpose of me even putting stuff on TikTok. Just show a bunch of my evidence clips from, you know, over the years, and I just started on them. So, you know,
what's the showbiz thing? Leave them wanting more.
Yeah,
if you haven't done that, nobody has. It's fantastic. It's fantastic stuff.
Oh, and it hasn't even gotten to the some of the others.
We got great ones yet to come. So, with that said, let me move on to the next one. The next one is you also doing a spirit box session, and this one's titled Cave. You want to give just a quick intro into this one?
Great clip.
What did I title it?
Cave.
Cave.
Maybe I titled it Cave, but it's the one where they say cave. It starts out saying behind.
Oh yeah, that is actually in Point Pleasant at the TNT bunkers. The whole Mothman phenomena and all that. That's me and my buddy David Weatherly. You know, world-renowned author and a guy I work with a lot. And me and him co-founded Society Supernatural together, you know, and we have some pretty big people in there. Of course, Rosemary is no longer with us, but she was a member of it. But anyway, long story short, yeah, we're at one of the bunkers and we're asking questions, and it's pretty crazy what the responses we got on that one too.
All right, here it comes.
Behind? What's behind? There's something in there behind us? What? What's behind us?
Wow. I mean, just clear as a bell. You can hear every one of those answers. So was there actually a cave back there? Did you ever find out?
So what's right behind us in the video, guys, is an explosive ordnance bunker. Now, during that whole time we were out, now you got to remember, you're out in the middle of the boonies, number one. There's no other people around, and we had some crazy stuff happen. It sounded like someone was pounding from the inside of that thing at one point during our investigation out there, like they were trying to get out, like they were trapped, or it was some kind of something. And there's all these rumors of the bunkers that there's underground tunnels, and all this different crazy stuff. And a lot of people don't know, but there was a lot of satanic practices going on out there in the 60s and 70s. So possibly something could have been conjured out there. I mean, if you walk around, you can see the symbology painted on stuff, scratched on trees, and so on and so forth. You can find all kinds of symbology of that, just by walking around out there. But, you can just hear by the responses, we were getting clear, relevant responses to our questions. I think it even said Mothman in there. At one point, I think it said Injured Cold, which was a known character during the whole Mothman prophecies. And we actually did a DVD of that investigation, and all the stuff we experienced was pretty phenomenal stuff. Pretty phenomenal. We came across an animal mutilation like I've never seen before. I grew up in the woods hunting and came across this deer carcass that was just beyond anything I can even comprehend. The thing was sliced perfectly down the middle of its face, almost surgically. That side of the face was totally gone to the bone. It was white all the way to the bone. No meat, no tendons, no muscle, all the way down to its neck. There was no bullet holes, no animal activity, predator activity on it, no insect activity on this thing, and no human interaction within a 50-yard radius that I could find anywhere. That we did a 50-yard circle. We found one strange print of something, some imprint in the ground that looked more like a round hoofing type of thing that was like this, I don't know, about that big around.
Wow.
It was almost as if this thing was dropped from the sky. I mean, that's the only, because there was no tire tracks, and it was laying in a dirt area with gravel, and the road was probably 15 yards out from it. Because we were driving through there looking for where we were going to investigate tonight, and I saw the deer carcass, and I said, something doesn't look right about that. We stopped right in the middle of the road, got out, started looking at it, inspecting it, and had a crazy experience, and I mean, I flipped it over looking for bullet holes, everything. There was nothing. No blood anywhere, no predator activity, no insect activity. And it was like one side of this deer's face was just completely... all the tissue was gone, straight to the bone.
Wow.
Nothing else. I mean, I've never seen anything. It's in the video, but of course it's on DVD, so you have to buy it.
So it's just bone? It's just the bone on one side? Just bone? No. Wow, that's crazy.
Like one whole side of its face. It's you got to picture what a deer has: a long nose, a snout, right? Yeah. So it was like split perfectly down the middle to about right here on his neck, and this one whole side was nothing but white bone.
That's
no
cool.
Meat, no nothing. There was no insects. No insects on it. No insects on it. So the insects wouldn't even touch this.
Wow.
Right, because you would think there would be some kind of insect, something. That's crazy.
Nothing.
Especially
Normally,
with all the flesh and tendons missing and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that would immediately make you think there's a lot more going on here than what normal activity from a kill would include, and that's insane.
Yeah.
Was anything else examined after the fact for radiation levels, perhaps, or something that would have kept stuff away?
Here's the thing, right? So as we're doing this, we do our first initial recon around 50-yard radius, trying to find, okay, somebody threw this thing. But even if, say some guy shot this deer, right, and they pulled up in a truck and threw it, there's no way 4 men could have swung this deer and thrown it from the back of a truck or even on the ground. Number one, there was no tire tracks, no sign of any cars, no human foot tracks, nothing, for one. Did a 50-yard radius around this thing, started small and went all the way out to 50 yards. Couldn't find any sign of any human, no tires, no human tracks, nothing, no insects, nothing. So as we're doing that, we get done with that, and I'm going back to get more gear out of the car at this point, right? And I happen to look down the road, and I see what is typically described as a chupacabra-looking dog. I'm like, a Texas style one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's 2 different types. They have the lizard type that's down in Puerto Rico and all that, and then they have the Texas style that looks more like a mangy looking dog. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, dang it. Trying not to scare this thing. I'm trying to yell at him under my voice. I said, come here. And I had a GoPro going in my window, luckily. Full spectrum GoPro. I usually ride when when I'm out, I got cameras going everywhere. So he sees it too. He jumps in the car, and I start easing out towards this thing because I want to get a picture of this thing, because this is really bizarre at this point. Here we're seeing this bizarre carcass, and then we see what we can only describe as what looks like a Texas style chupacabra. Wow. I'm like, what? And it was walking funny. It was so bizarre. And then I still can't, neither one of us, we've talked about this. We can't explain it to this day. So the thing darts off in the woods after we got a pretty good video of it. It's a little grainy and stuff, but it went off in the woods. We get out and we try to, see where it went, and we're trying to get cameras on it, and it's gone. So then for some reason, it's like we didn't even go back to the deer carcass. We were done, and we went back to the hotel, and we were like, and it was like missing time or something. It was the most bizarre thing.
Wow.
That would have never happened between me and him. We would have been back there, trying to get rad detectors on this thing and everything else, and I still can't explain it. It's the most bizarre thing. Why did we not go back and do what we do? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Dave, right. You mentioned rosemary before. You made rosemary Ellen Guiley, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for all the years you've been doing this, and for something like that's really bizarre and not common for even paranormal people to encounter, what are your thoughts on whether or not that could be something interdimensional, something that could be categorized as jinn, let's say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be anything. I mean, who knows at this point? Could be something that was dropped from ET. Who knows? I mean, the way I've been hunting and fishing in the woods my entire life, and I've seen hundreds of deer carcasses in the woods, whether it be one from just died or somebody shot one and couldn't find it, or whatever the case. Nothing even ever came close to looking like this deer. Nothing.
That's what makes it so compelling, because you have that experience,
right.
And you know.
Right. So
and
true.
That that's what makes it compelling.
And not just what was done, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the impression we're getting is that there was a precision to that would have to exhibit intelligence behind that occurrence.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was perfect right down the middle of the thing's face.
And it was half just of it cleared to bone, the other half wasn't. So that alone is extremely peculiar, that only half of it would have been done.
And so we go back the next day, because we started talking about what the hell are we thinking? It's gone. Totally
got
gone.
Me right there.
Oh, it was gone.
Wow.
It was gone.
Yep,
That's
totally
crazy.
gone. Yep. Not a single trace, not a hair, nothing.
Still no tire tracks, nothing on there.
Nope.
And I get that, because you're
my tire tracks were there still. But nobody else's,
Sheree wants to know about the DVD.
Yeah, Sheree wants to know where.
Curious.
Sheree wants to know where the DVD can be bought.
You have to just email me and I can make you one.
Cool.
Oh,
That's a phenomenal
thank
story.
You.
It is a phenomenal story.
If that DVD was 2 hours of a can of Febreze and then that footage, I'd still buy it.
I'm telling you. And it's so bizarre. I still like, I can't believe we didn't go back and do more there. What the hell was going on? That's not anything normal for us at all, period.
But that's why, because you were processing what just happened, and that's that's what happens. You're processing it, and you're like in a shock stage, if you will, right? And then later on, you're like, well, why didn't we go back? Well, why wouldn't? Because you're processing something that just happened that you can't explain.
Did you feel it was missing time?
That's what I was just gonna say. Any missing time?
Well, yeah, because it was like next thing we knew, before we even realized that we were back in the hotel room and talking about what we were going to do later that night. And that's when we went out to the bunker, and that was a little piece of what you guys showed right there. So, and we were like, what the hell? Why, and then we're like, it was too late by then, so we'll go back tomorrow and do more on it. And it was gone.
It was gone.
And what a great calling card too because before Dave mentioned to someone who was asking about advice that you don't do it by yourself and for safety reasons. But that's another reason too, is because that's corroboration. He's not the only one who saw the thing at the end of the road that looked like a chupacabra. He's not the only one who saw the precision on that bizarre carcass. So that's another reason to not do this stuff alone.
And I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I know that was a chupacabra. It just looked awful.
Right.
Sure. I mean, it was just totally bizarre, and I had to see more of it because here we have a possible live chupacabra, and there has been reported sightings of chupacabra-like animals in that area as well as dogmen. So and this was no size of a dogman per se. It was just the typical. If it wasn't a chupacabra, it was a really mangy dog. Really mangy, and it didn't even walk normal. It was like doing like bit like.
Did it have like a hump? That hump?
Yeah. Yep, it had a weird hump, just like the ones. Have you ever seen those shows in the Texas of that police officer, that woman got it? That it looked almost identical to that, man. So it was just bizarre. That's why I had to go more. And then next thing you know, we're back in the hotel going, "What the hell just happened?" And it was crazy experience.
What an experience!
That's
a crazy experience, and I think I would agree with you, Ron, that I think you're crossing some forces of either interdimensional or extraterrestrial, one of the two, because none of that makes any sense. I mean, I've watched Dave do so many different investigations, and that's not his personality to just skip over all that. And then all of a sudden, be like, we're back at the hotel. So that happened like 4 years ago now, and we still talk about why we still can't fathom why we didn't go back and do more. I mean, we just don't understand what happened,
Yeah.
And what you all said too is what gives this so much credence. Is Lourdes said that Dave's not a newbie to the wilderness and the outdoor world, nor is he in the least bit in the dark about cryptids and those kinds of things. So he's educated in both and the paranormal, all relevant stuff to the moment. So if you're going to have a guy out there to experience that, to be able to, in a moment when you're really, like you said, you're processing, be able to rule stuff out that could be materialistically explained away, he's the guy.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I knew something. I knew from 20, 25 yards away that deer carcass did not look right. First off, and normally, I see a deer carcass, I just keep on driving. I said, wait a minute, that don't look right. I stopped the car and we got out, and sure enough, it was all no smell, smell either.
Wow.
No smell.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There was no blood. There was no blood. I mean, nothing. No guts hanging out. Nothing. I mean,
wow.
That's amazing.
Wow.
That is.
Better send me that video.
She wants a video made.
Right, let's keep moving because I don't want to hold up Dave too long, but I definitely want to play the rest of these clips. So the next one I have is looks like a light anomaly at the Vasila axe murder house, and I actually got two of them. One looks like it was in a room, and the second one I have looks like it was up in the attic. Is that correct, Dave?
Yeah, both were on the second floor. One was in the children's bedroom, and one's in the what you and I would consider the attic area, and that's where they theorized the murderer lied in wait before he hacked them up with the axe. Is in that attic area.
Wow. All right, so
Because
let
on
me,
the same level as the bedrooms. It's not like above anything. It's on the same level. It's just through a door.
Okay. Okay. These are fascinating, and I'm not a huge orb guy because most of the time when people in the paranormal post orbs, it's dust. But these are not, and these are amazing. So let me play the first one, and then I'll go through and play the second one after. But this is some incredible stuff. So here it comes.
Here's a piece of evidence that blew me away when I reviewed it. This light anomaly was captured at the notorious Villisca Axe Murder House several years ago on my DVR system. It was captured not only in the children's room, but also in the attic space of the house. Check it out.
Hot mic.
Okay, that was the first one. I'm going to jump right to the second one before we talk about this. And here, I can make sure I got the right one here. Okay, here comes the second one that was in the second room that Dave was referring to. Here it comes right now.
Here's the second video clip of the same light anomaly that I captured in the children's bedroom. This time it's in the attic space. It is said the killer lied in wait in this very room before killing the victims as they slept. I can't help but wonder if I captured the killer's spirit on camera still lurking in the house to this day. Or perhaps it's the ghost of one of his victims from that tragic night.
Just incredible. I mean, that thing appears, disappears. Its motion is fluid. The light goes on and off. I mean, at first I'm like, okay, is this a firefly? I'm like, nope, it's too big. It's not flying right. I mean, the trajectory of it, the fact that it disappears into the floor and then reappears, that's incredible, Dave. Just incredible.
I don't know if it was the first one or the second one, but you can see almost like how if somebody reads like auras, like you see like a disturbance, you can see like an energy disturbance around it. It's emanating beyond the size of the part that's illuminated.
Yes, right. Exactly.
That's what blew me away.
Did you see that with your own eyes?
No. That I had a security cam system during the investigation. And when I reviewed the evidence, I was like, holy crap, what is this? And if you look at the one that is in the attic area, right, at the very end, as it's going out of camera range on the left-hand side, you can make out what I think is head and shoulders and upper torso. Yeah. And it's in that disturbance that he's talking about. That disturbance is in the shape of a head and a upper shoulder and a torso. Yeah, and that's what really blew me away.
Yeah, especially when it comes up. You can see the shoulders, you can see the head in that disturbance field when it's rising. So, yeah, I completely agree.
And you can see the energy of that light, too.
Yes. That's what I call it. That's the energy of it. It's amazing. I haven't seen yet evidence with an orb looking like that with that disturbance. I've never seen it yet. That's the first one.
Well, you see all kinds of, quotation orbs, but to me, that's not an orb. That's a true light anomaly. Right. And to me, that is almost like, it looks to me like pure spirit energy, what I would consider, the only thing I've ever seen anything close like that's in the movie Poltergeist. To be honest, I mean,
it's true.
That that still blows me away to this day. It was pure by happenstance. I wasn't in the rooms investigating. Just my security cameras caught it on security cam footage of in the house. And it was at different times of the night. And you know, even the one in the children's room, it goes in the wall and comes out of the freaking wall, and it creates that disturbance when it's doing that too. Right. It's crazy. And what creeps me out about it is, you know, if you ever read about the Villisca Axe murder house and the story behind it, they found cigarette butts in the attic, and that's where they theorized whoever the killer was. They still don't know who killed those people. They never caught anyone. He lied in wait for the family to come home and go to bed, and he was hiding in the attic. And if you've ever been in that house, it's spooky, let me tell you. There's marks in that house is really small because people were a lot smaller back in those days, you know, stature wise. And
some of us
marks.
Still are.
Yeah, right. You're not small, but there's marks in the ceiling where he raised the axe and was put dents in the ceiling. And when he was I mean, it's brutal. And all those kids, you know, the kids had visitors spending the night with them, and those kids got killed too, you know, and so it's almost like I'm thinking, wow, did I just capture the residual energy of this murderer going in and out of the room? I mean, it's spooky stuff, man.
It really is. It really is creepy. It's an amazing catch.
It is
amazing,
it's a fantastic catch.
Oh my god!
And with regard to the problem with orbs is that the word is taken on a less than positive connotation. It's just an orb is a ball of light. It doesn't mean that it's fake or fraudulent or misinterpreted, but it's got a negative thing because, and this speaks to the other thing we said, Dave's got 30-something years of experience. When people post the things you're talking about and go, this is an orb, this was Aunt whoever and whatever, a lot of times it's people who are newer, people who don't have an educated eye, they haven't been in the field that long, maybe they don't know how to assess it.
Right.
The other problem with orbs is that we lock down investigations for audio so we don't have contamination of whispering or ambient noise but really, in a lot of cases, you can't, but nobody locks down a location to be orb-free so that if you see one, you go, ta-da! No, but that doesn't happen.
True.
So you look for really distinct characteristics.
That's impossible that's impossible to actually have a dust-free room. I mean, come on.
Right.
And there's bugs in everybody's house, little tiny no-see-ums, and they look like fireballs on an infrared camera, let me tell you.
That's
and they don't have a disturbance around it. Like that.
And that was self-luminous. It was self-luminous. It had its own light coming from it. It wasn't being brightened up by infrared lights. It had its own internal light. That's what you want to look for. That's a true orb. That's a true light anomaly, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly. Most of the ones that people are claiming to be orbs, you can clearly see it's dust reflecting the infrared light hitting it or even natural light hitting it. Big difference. But you're right, Dave. This thing had its own self-illuminance, and that was incredible.
Yep.
Yeah. Crazy.
All right. So the next thing I want to talk about, and this is going to lead up to this final clip, which to me is just one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. But I'm going to play just an opening clip that kind of describes Willow's Weep. And it's actually Dave in the clip. I found it on the internet, copied it. It's not long. It's less than a minute, I think. And then we'll let Dave tell the story about how he got a hold of this house. And so let me play the clip on Willow's Weep. And then I've got one clip after that where he's giving a talk in the house and something happens. And then I'm going to show this final clip. So here's the intro that Dave has for Willow's Weep, which is a house that's actually shaped like an inverted cross. Here is that clip.
Some of the interesting aspects of this house include numerous factual deaths, 3, possibly 4 by suicide. The house is built in the shape of a cross, and in all 4 corners of that cross, originally there was 4 entrances and exits as to funnel in energy. Above those entrances and exits There are 4 points built into the structure itself, almost like a pentagram shape, seeming to point to the middle of the house. Directly in front of the house, there's a crossroads. So if you know anything about the devil in the crossroads story, that's another interesting aspect of this property.
Okay, that was so cool. Tell us how, and I remember seeing.
Something's playing?
No, honey, that's a 20-second delay.
Oh, okay.
I actually remember watching the show where you were at the house, and I remember the owner at that time saying, you know, we've had it for sale, we just can't sell it, we don't live here anymore. And I remember you actually saying to her, I'll buy this place, I'll buy this from you. But just give our audience a little background as to how this house came into being in your.
Well, you know, prime example, TV's TV. So we had to recreate that moment. They wanted us to kind of recreate it. It was a little different than it really happened. I had become friends with Brenda over the years after investigating the house, and I actually bought the house in 2017.
Oh, okay.
So for the TV show, they wanted us to do that intro and that whole beginning where we met and talked and all that. That's TV for you. Okay. I'm honest about it. I'll tell you how it happened. It doesn't matter to me. But
that's great.
TV's entertainment. You know what I'm saying? For the most part. So, yeah, I bought the house back in 2017. Brenda had wanted to sell it, but she would only sell it to, there was only, it was a very, very short list, and I was one of them. The other 2 people could not do it at the time. She talked to me on the phone. You know, she talked to all of us basically on the same day. And when I said, well, let me think about it, because I knew how negative that house was, and I had to ponder on it for a while. And I said, you know what better of a place that we can study the paranormal? And I'm talking not just me, other groups that want to come in. I basically have my own paranormal laboratory, so to speak, and I allow groups to come in and investigate it. And that's the reason I decided to buy it from her. And I bought it from her. She was totally done with the house. She swears that the house tried to kill her and her husband both on multiple occasions. They're very good people, have no reason to lie. You know, and I'll tell you, she didn't make no money off of it. She made exactly what she paid for it from me. She wasn't looking to make money. She just wanted it off of her plate and gone. They were so traumatized by some of the events that happened there. They moved 30 miles away. And then last year they moved to another place that's about 10, 15 miles away. Because the place that they bought was just too big, but they made a rash decision and got out of there as fast as they could. Right. So, and let me tell you something, her husband is still messed up from that house. Wow. The guy was in fine shape, you know, no health problems, no major health problems at all. Went over there to work on the house one day, had a heart attack, recovered from that, and then went back several months later to work on it and had a stroke.
Wow.
Well, and then, you know, all these other things. If you read my book about it, it tells their whole history of all the different experiences they had, why they bought it. See, they weren't married when she bought it. He was actually living there next door, and he had lived there since the 60s. And he knew the last owners that lived there and who died in that house. Who, you know, the dad shot himself in the head. The last guy that lived there shot himself in the head, died in there. His wife also died at, there's a controversy if she died in the house or at the hospital, but he told me himself that he witnessed the EMTs wheel her out and she was covered up. So to me, she died in the house. So whatever. But in a lot of states, you're not dead until a doctor says you're dead officially, you know, until you're pronounced dead at the hospital. So her death certificate says pronounced dead at the hospital, you know, so it is what it is. Right. And then there's all kinds of other deaths in that house. Many investigative groups, even before I owned it and before I investigated it, had hair-raising experiences in the house. Some had been attacked. and many crazy things have happened in that house. So I bought it to study the paranormal. It's not for the faint of heart, and it's not for the rookie investigator, and I do not allow children, no one under 18 is allowed to investigate in that house ever. There's some rules that have to go along.
Well, and those are good rules. I mean, we run the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center. We don't allow in anyone under 18 either. And, laws for, underage non-adults, I mean, that's the first thing you want to protect. So totally understand that. But let me show this next clip. This is a clip of Dave actually in the house doing a little speech interview type thing, and something occurs while this is happening. So let me
This is great. Yeah.
this is awesome. Let me play this one for our audience. Here it comes right now.
If you look in that aspect with demonic or negative entities, those type of entities, that is their sole purpose, to seek and destroy souls, ruin families, any crack they can exploit. And I'm getting dizzy because I'm standing in here, I got to back up. They seek to destroy families, destroy souls, ruin you in any way can. Something just knocked down that whole thing, dude. It doesn't like me talking about it. So that was freaky, man.
Okay, that was so cool because your reaction to it was so natural, so genuine. Yeah, that was awesome.
Is that the one? Now you got that off of the internet, probably, right?
I did. It's the one where the window sill or the window blind or whatever that was comes crashing down.
Off of Orange Street Films. The whole deal with that was I'm trying to film a documentary about the house, right? And that was my director, producer, and camera guy. He was there filming me, just tell general stories and information about the house. And that happened, I mean, it was totally unexpected, and stuff like that happens in that house all the time, let me tell you. I mean, it scared the living bejesus out of, because that thing was stapled to the window frame, and it flew off.
Right.
And made a crazy noise at the same time, and as you can tell, my reaction was like, oh, what the frick, because it was bizarre. And in that other clip you're going to show happened during the same time, and I'll tell you more about it after you show it.
Okay. Well, let's move on to this clip. And anyone in the audience, this clip is absolutely...
Well, I told our daughter that you better watch it, and hopefully she doesn't have a nightmare tonight.
This is absolutely fantastic. It's an amazing capture. It's of amazing quality, and it's phenomenal. So before I say anything else, let me play this for our audience. Anyone in the audience, you're going to want to watch now, because this is breathtaking.
Don't blink.
Do not get up.
Yeah, do not get up. Do not blink. Here it comes. Oh my God. What did you say, Dave, when you reviewed that footage and saw that?
All right, so here's the story behind this, okay? So it was during that same time we were filming when the thing flew off the window. There was 4 of us there, me, my cameraman, his helper, and a psychic I had brought with me. Now behind that, you have to understand the logistics of the house for this too. Behind the house, there's a 40 by 40 metal building, cement floor. We were all in the building when this happened, okay? Because we were done for the day, packing up gear. We were almost all the way done. I think he had one bag left. I was turning the security cameras back on in the house, and the camera this footage was captured on was his GoPro he left in the house on top of one of the doors by pure happenstance. As we were packing gear, we had loaded up the vehicle. He said, "Oh crap, I left the GoPro in there." So I had to go in there and let him back in there and get the GoPro, and then we packed up and left, right? Thought nothing of it. Did our thing, filmed for the day, and we were gone. A month later, he calls me freaking out, going, "Oh my God, dude, I'm never going in that house." This was not even my footage. This was all by happenstance. This was his camera, his footage that I'm having him, we're working together on this documentary. He said, "I don't know if I can ever go in that house again." I'm like, "What are you talking about, dude? You weren't that scared." He's like, "Dude, I'm sending you this footage now. You're going to crap your pants." So you seen what it was. In that particular, okay, you have to understand this house too, okay? It's shaped in the shape of a cross, right? So if you picture a cross in your mind, in the corners of the cross where the arms would come out, later in the years, they added these little weird rooms for some reason. And the only reason I can think is because at one time there was actually 4 entrances and exits to the house in the corners of the cross, which is really bizarre. Why, come on.
Right.
So what they did was they took all the doors out except for the one front one, and then they built a little porch on the front, and that's where the one main door is, the front door, and then the back they added on this little room for the hot water heater and stuff, and it's got an overhang, and that's where the back door is. So they enclosed those 4 doors, those other 3 corners where the doors were, with these weird little rooms, right? In that room where you saw the shadow figure, the windows are about 4 feet high, 3.5 to 4 feet high, maybe 4.5 feet, somewhere between 3.5, 4 feet high off the ground. Now, if you paid attention, that shadow figure, you see the entire body from head to toe. I know it wasn't a person creating the shadow outside, number one, because we were all in the freaking back building during this time. And number two, if it was a person, you would have only saw from maybe about the bottom of your chest up as a shadow. That time of day, that lighting, you wouldn't, no matter what angle in the windows they would have been at, you would have seen a person from the other room walk up to that window to create that shadow. Because you can see, if you look at the camera angle, you can see the other room. You would have seen a shadow in both of those rooms. So I know it wasn't a real person creating a shadow somehow, with the lightning that was coming in the house. And if you pay attention to the video, before all that transpires, you can hear unexplained shuffling in the house.
Yep.
There's nobody in the house. You see a weird looking white mist, dark shadow go to the left of where the room is first. Then you see the shadow figure. Then it comes back out.
Right.
And there's also, right before it happens, there's a huge shadow that goes across the ceiling area.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Plus it's got this energy aura around it. When the shadow walks, you can actually see that sort of fuzzy haze on the outskirts of the shadow that actually even distorts the camera view a little bit.
Yep. It's the same thing as that orb that he caught. It was the same disturbance kind of thing.
Right.
Through the silhouette. I'm sorry, Sheree.
Oh, no, you're fine.
But yeah, it's that same kind of throughout the whole silhouette of the shadow.
Exactly. Yeah, I noticed that too.
You can see the hands too, and oh my gosh, it's amazing.
That's
capture.
Incredible. Just incredible.
What excites me about it is that it was by pure happenstance. It was just a camera that was left on filming. It wasn't during any investigation. We weren't investigating that whole time. We were there filming B-roll and short clips of me talking about different things in the house. At that time, there was no investigating being done or anything, and it was broad daylight. It was like probably 5:30 in the evening when that happened. And I know for a fact there was nobody on my property. There was nobody randomly on my property walking up to the house creating that shadow. It just wasn't there. There wasn't anyone there. I would have noticed. I
Right.
would have heard them.
Right.
Now, this
So-
is in Indiana, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Willows Week.
So there you go. We have a
Yeah,
place to investigate.
Ron and Lourdes, we're gonna have to plan a booking and a trip to Indiana because I'm
Yeah,
definitely gonna want to check this
because
place
our
out.
friend Dennis, who introduced us to Dave Spinks, has been talking about that place for a while.
Yeah.
He said, "We gotta go, we gotta
Yeah.
go."
Yeah,
So
well,
we
we'll-
gotta.
It doesn't have to be at night though, because during the day it's very active. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean a lot of paranormal activity doesn't happen in the wee hours of the night. It can happen at any time. You and I know
That's
that in
true.
the
That's
hospital.
one of the points that I was trying to say is like
so dark.
it's like when you do like EVP and you're set like I'm always recording and you do EVP, right? But I have my recorder and we're setting up or taking it down. Sometimes that's when you get the best EVPs.
Right, exactly.
I think that's what happened there.
Right.
It's like everybody, it was there and that's when it happened.
Yep.
When
Well, you ever notice-
when an investigation wasn't going on.
Right. Well, you ever
Nobody
notice
was
too
doing-
that the EVPs show up right when you turn it on? I mean,
Yep.
every time I do EVPs, the second the recorder goes on, there's 2 or 3 of them right there, and then you can wait 20 minutes, an hour for another. But it's there are.
I think there's
It almost-
something to that. Yes, I do think that there's
Yeah.
something to that.
And it almost felt like it was like, okay, they're gone now. I can come out,
Right.
and some type of weird thing like that. But numerous people have reported seeing shadow figures in the house. There's been one of the original homeowner and his wife who built the house. They both died in the house. She's been seen in the house. And if you look at, in my book, and then even on the Willows Weep Facebook page, you'll see a picture of an older looking woman with a bun and a high neck dress. That picture was taken in Willows Weep by, the Foreman brothers, who are they're great investigators. I've known them for years. They had something really spooked them out, and they single filely were running out of the house. The last brother heard something behind him and turned around and snapped a picture on his way out as they were running out, and that's what he got. And if you look at her obituary that's in my book, the picture in the obituary is almost identical to that picture they took.
Wow.
You can see it. She's got the high bun. She's got the high neck dress. I mean, it's spooky. It gives me cold chills right now. I got cold chills. I mean, it's just, and she's been also, a picture of her has been taken in the front window too. One of Brenda's relatives, they were doing an event and they were going to make some t-shirts up. So she was taking a picture of the front of the house to put on the front of the t-shirts. And when they got to looking at the picture, there she is right in the window. Wow. Same woman, man. And I just found out recently from a group that went in from Illinois that he's a 32nd degree Mason, and I knew there was some Masonic symbology in this house. If you look at some of the videos, there's these strange points coming out of the walls that are built into the structure of the house, right? And they all point to the center of the cross. What would be the dead center of the cross? Right. And I said and they were triangles, and I'm like, those have to be Masonic, and that doesn't make any sense. Why you would build that in that structure? It serves no purpose. And I seen some other weird stuff on the door jams, and sure enough, they came in here. And when he talked to me, he said, "You realize that this house is loaded with Masonic symbology? Mm-hmm. Only let me show you this." So he said, "See how this one is turned? They're turned a certain way. Those are to full non-Masonic members." He said, "Look," and he sent me their sheet that not many people see, and what those symbols and right on every door frame, man. It's the pillars of King Solomon. Wow. Every doorway.
Oh,
cool.
So,
How old is this house again?
King Solomon, who was associated with ruling the jinn.
1890 when that house was built.
Wow.
So I want to, if I can say one thing, and then I want to ask Dave a question. Both circling back to the beginning. So this field you talked about has moved forward. You said incrementally, but we're moving forward. In our opinions, and I think Tony and Shuri agree, that kind of stuff is why. Because what we do, whether people realize it or not, we're not in a dogmatic, kind of a cultish, kind of an organized field. Empirical data is what counts. Right. This is not belief-based what we do. It's empirical data. The data is king.
Right.
That is irrefutable. That footage is unbelievable. That moves it forward. The question I had, to also go back to the beginning of the show, is with what you've shown us tonight is unbelievable. What you've done in the field is unbelievable. You said you got started because of experiences, and then you were in pursuit of answers. At this point in your paranormal career, what percentage of answers do you think you've got, and how much more do you think there is?
I mean, it goes without saying, I'm a believer. I mean, come on, and I come from a law enforcement background as far as investigating goes too. So, yeah, I mean, not just that, but I have to come at it as a skeptic, and after having done this for so many years and experienced so many things, and we didn't even get into the times where I've been attacked and scratched by some stuff I couldn't see and some other things that have happened to me. I mean, there's no doubt about it to me that there's stuff out there that we cannot explain. There's stuff, in my personal opinion, there's spirits around us all the time.
Yep.
And there's also beings, in my personal opinion, around us all the time. I often tell people, prime example, I live on top of a mountain surrounded by millions of acres of woods. There's maybe 20, 30 houses around my general area. That's it. Other than that, it's wilderness. And, I tell people, guys, take your head out of your cell phone, take 15 minutes a day, look up in the sky. You're going to be blown away by what you see. Look at your surroundings. People are so busy with their 9 to 5 and the kids and this and that. They don't take the time anymore to observe their surroundings. I mean, there could be a squatch standing right here by this tree next to my vehicle. I wouldn't know it. I would not know it because I'm focusing on this, but people don't take the time to observe what's around them, have an open mind, because they're too focused on their cell phones and technology and their 9 to 5s or whatever the case. And let's face it, with what's going on in the world today, there's even more stuff to worry about.
Right.
But
you need to take time to stay still. You need to stay still and observe everything.
Yep.
People don't do that anymore. I mean, people do that, but more people need to do that.
Need to do it. Exactly.
More people need to do it.
You're exactly right. Well, I gotta tell you. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah. I mean, that's an excellent point, and there's so much that's missed if you don't do that on a regular basis. But I just gotta say, Dave, thank you so much for coming on. This was just an amazing show with some just incredible evidence. And I know that the views have only just begun because people are gonna be telling other people about what you had captured and share it. But before exactly. So we're gonna do the same thing. But before we go, I just want to put in one plug, and that is for this Friday. The Dark Zone is going to start their Lizzie Borden Murder House 4-day broadcast. Tickets are still available. Go to thedarkzone.tv to get your tickets. It lasts Friday, the 26th through September 1st.
That's 4 days.
Yeah, it's 4 days of live. There's night cameras. There's a ton of guests coming in to talk about from both paranormal side and from the actual murder side. So if you get a chance, you want to check that out. It's going to be great. But again, back to this show, Dave, thank you so much. This was absolutely fantastic. Anything you want to plug or say, or anything you got coming up you want to announce, now's your shot.
All right. Please check out my website. It's www.davespinks.paranormalinvestigator.com. You'll see links to all my stuff, my YouTube channel, my social media, events I've got coming up. Even though a lot of them got canceled, there are some little ones that are popping up now that I'll be at. I'll be at the September 12th, the Flatwoods Monster Museum and the Old Elk Theater. We'll be having some vendors there, and Seth Breedlove of Small Town Monsters will be showing the Flatwoods Monster movie and another movie that the curator of the museum created about the Flatwoods Monster, which I'm in the Small Town Monsters movie as a local, because I grew up hearing that story from my relatives, how scared they were and everything else. So as an investigator, that's coming up, and there's also an event in Indiana at the McDonald House. We're doing a 2-day event there. Me and Barry Gaunt of the Night Stalkers and his group are going to be doing a 2-day paranormal investigation up there. You can come and stay in the B&B with us. It'll be real private thing and fun. And we're going to and that place is super haunted too. It's only like a half an hour from the Weep. So we'll be there on October 2nd and 3rd. Come on out, buy tickets. Just look up McDonald House on Facebook. It's a new and upcoming location. If you haven't been there, come and check it out with us. We're going to have dinner. It's going to be a lot of fun and investigate later on both nights. So you can stay the entire weekend or just one night.
Wow, so busy.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And next year, I want to announce this really big event I got going on. I am actually doing a trip to Ireland, and we're doing a haunted castle tour. Check it out. It's going to be phenomenal. I'm going to be You'll get to investigate 3 different castles with me. We're going to be staying on the haunted prison island there one night, and we're going to tour like 11 castles and do some stuff during the daytime and everything else. So just go over to my website, and you'll find links to that and everything. But what's really cool about it is the tour company I'm doing it through, you can do payment plans. You don't have to do it all at once, and it's actually cheaper if 2 of you go than one, because you get to share the room and everything. So and that's the only thing you have to do. You can read about it. You buy your plane ticket separate, and then you fly over, and then we meet you at the airport, and we're off and running, man. It's going to be an unreal, paranormal, crazy trip, man. I can't wait to do it.
If you're meeting us, we're going. Meeting us, we're going.
It's really a paranormal trip of a lifetime, guys. I mean, 11 castles in, it's like 9 days or 8 days, whatever it is, and 3 investigations and everything else. I mean, it's going to be insane. We're talking Lep Castle. We're talking some stuff that'll blow you away. That's super, super darkly haunted, and other things too. So, I mean,
Amazing.
Awesome.
It's safe to assume that when Dave says it's off the chain or insane, it actually is.
Yes. Oh yeah.
With the evidence that he submitted today, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's where my people are from. I actually know the town my people originate from in Northern Ireland, but I've never got to go there, and I can't wait. I am super stoked. It's going to be phenomenal.
That's absolutely amazing. I was worried that I didn't play that clip long enough or enough times for our audience, but then I just realized I saw Cherie's screen. The last probably 10 minutes we were talking, I didn't flip back to us. So although the audience could hear it, they probably saw that clip for 7 minutes or 8 minutes. So
well, it's a good clip. No, for a mistake, that's a good one.
The last one.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's good. It's a good one.
They didn't hear anything we just said, or were they hearing it too?
They would have still heard us from the mics. They just, instead of seeing the 3 screenshots, they were probably still seeing the shadow apparition.
Oh, and if you want to see more stuff that I've done, I have the Real West Virginia Haunted series. Volume 1 is out. Volume 2 will be coming out probably late or early this coming year. I've got several different books out that I've written. One about Willow's Weep, and it tells the whole shebang, man, and more. And there's a lot of spooky stuff. There's other investigators' accounts in there, as well as my own and the family's accounts, so that I bought it from. So, there's more to come from Willow's Weep. It's probably going to be a 3-book series. One thing I wanted to do on the book number 2 is call it Willow's Weep, The Investigations. And I wanted to get around 25 to 50 groups to come in and all do a set experiment at the same time, and compile all those results and see how many we can compare notes on and what matches up. And, I thought that would be a cool little way to kind of push the field forward a little bit, and write the book on that with all those results in it. This team on this day got this, and this. This team on this day got this, and this. And if you do it all together and you have the same set of instructions to do, and then you got stuff that's matching up, that's pretty compelling to me, scientifically speaking anyway. So hopefully, due to COVID, that got messed up. So hopefully, if this stuff slows down, we can start implementing that for book number 2, along with some new experiences that people have had in there as well. So that's one thing I want to do to kind of push this field a little further and try to do more experiments like that and see what happens.
That's awesome.
So if you need a group that does direct radio voice for your experiment stuff.
Yeah.
We're good at that.
And we only work with,
Ready,
and we
boys.
only work with the Rathmans too, so that's
Bring
Yeah,
us
anytime
in.
you ever need help or anything, Dave, just give a holler, and anything
Yeah.
to help, we always will. But this was just a fantastic show, and Ron and
Yeah.
Lourdes, having you guys on was great.
Thank you, Ron and Lourdes.
And Dave, just excellent captures. I'm sure our audience enjoy it. I know it's getting late for you guys, so we'll call it a night and we'll let you go. But
gosh.
Dave, thank you so much for coming on, and
Appreciate all sharing of all
and
your
all the
videos.
information and concepts, and just was fantastic.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Anytime, guys. Just hit me up and we'll do it again.
Yep. Great
Sounds
show.
great.
yeah,
Great show.
All right. Well,
All right.
everyone, have a fantastic evening, and we'll call this a night. Thank you.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Oh, I think I actually...
You
I killed the wrong one.
Oh my god.
I killed Zoom.